So let us begin in the usual way with a little bit of meditation. So, welcome. We've been going through this particular text, and I think this is now the 10th lecture on it. So, might be a little bit difficult for you. But this first meditation, you can get. Okay. So we get into a comfortable meditation posture. And the most important thing is to have a straight back. And then also try to center yourself, center your spine such that your nose is over your navel. Make sure that your shoulders aren't hunched over. So you can roll them up and back, opening up your chest. Gently tuck your chin like this into your neck. So just gently. You'll feel some elongation at the back of the neck. Then the mouth is closed, but the teeth are not clenched. Place your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And just with a little bit of suction, make sure that there's no air in the mouth. So create a little bit of a vacuum. If you normally wear spectacles, you can also take a nap. And so now in this meditation, we're going to be doing what's called mindfulness of the breath meditation. Every meditation has an object. Here, our object is the breath. And when we say that we're meditating on the breath, actually, we're meditating on the physical sensations in the body as we breathe in and out. So this morning, why don't we observe at our abdomen area. And you'll notice as you breathe in, the abdomen expands. As you breathe out, it contracts. So really put your mind's attention on the rising and falling of the abdomen, or the expansion and contraction. And here just try to observe the natural breath as it is, uncontrived, not trying to breathe long or short, but rather just watching and observing, bearing witness to the natural breath as it is. So becoming completely absorbed in the object of meditation. Not to think that somehow you are somewhere up in your head and you're looking down at your abdomen rising and falling. Not like that. Become very aware of every second, every moment of the breath, such that you are aware of when the inhalation becomes the exhalation, and the exhalation becomes the inhalation, vice versa. And so we'll do this for 5 minutes. So now gently come out of the meditation and bring your awareness back to the room. Hi. I've seen you before, right? Great, welcome back. Did you have Krispy Kreme donuts this morning? Okay. It's an inside joke. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now, our newest friend, the instructions that were given about this meditation, you're able to follow. You're able to do this meditation. No questions. Wow. None yet. Great. So good. You at least got that profit from coming here this morning. So one thing just to emphasize that I didn't mention, but when we are focusing on the breath and other appearances come to the mind, we don't engage in them, but rather try to remain focused on the breath. So whether they are the external sounds and whatnot, or the internal discursive thoughts, try to, not engage, not engaging with those other appearances to the mind. Okay. So now, yesterday, okay, as I mentioned, right, we're now, this is the 10th, right? The 10th session on this topic?
Yes.
Okay. So, yesterday in the 9th session, I gave a summary to set the context of where we were. And I was very satisfied with it. I was very happy. It took about 45 minutes. And then there was a couple questions that took, I think, more than 45 minutes to answer. And then our time is basically up. It's okay. It's okay. So what I wanted to do, let us have an embargo on questions, a blockade. Okay? Actually, you are an exception. You can ask questions. And I suppose if other of you, if you haven't understood the words that have come out of my mouth, maybe, if like the microphone, fails. Okay? But what tends to happen sometimes, we can go off on tangents. Sometimes it's interesting, it's good. And if I were here more, that'd be great. Like in the monasteries, we're debating maybe sometimes 4 hours, sometimes 6 hours a day, right? So when you have that kind of contact every day, then yes, a lot of questions. It's good. I mean, in general, a lot of questions are good, but there's a certain amount of material that I get through. So if I can ask for your cooperation on that, it'd be quite helpful. Okay? Alright. So now, yesterday, in the summary, to get us to where we are in the text, I did a sort of ground up summary. Maybe I'll flip that on its head and do an even briefer one, because we do still have a few new-ish people, and I'll do a kind of top-down thing. Okay. So, we're going through this text, Shantideva's Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Alright? And one thing I've inherited from the kind of Indo-Tibetan tradition that I very much love and appreciate is the way of using the title, you know, and explaining the meaning of the title to explain the meaning of the entire text. Okay? I like that very much. So here, again, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but you know, anyone remember I mentioned what the name of this text is in Tibetan?
Jangchub Sem Choe.
Janchu Sempe Chepa Lajupa. Aban.
Morning.
Good morning. Sorry. Great to see you. How are you?
Much better, thank you.
Okay. So, Janchu Sempe Chepa Lajupa. Okay? Janchu Sempe Chepa Lajupa. So, Janchu Sempa, Bodhisattva. Okay? Now, here, they're translating Chepa as way of life, right? But it's actually like conduct. Okay? And Jupa means to engage. Okay? So really a stricter literal translation would be like engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds. Engaging in the conduct of Bodhisattvas. Okay? So then, the question comes, what is a Bodhisattva? Have you heard that word before?
Yeah, I've heard it. I don't know the meaning.
Okay. So again, we have Bodhi, which is enlightenment. Okay? Bodhi, enlightenment. And Sattva is like a being. So, see, Bodhi itself, this enlightenment, is a state that is possible for everyone who is not enlightened. Okay? Right? Because it is just the state of the complete pacification and abandonment of all faults of the mind, and the complete development of all good qualities. Okay? So in Tibetan, we have Sangye. Sang is like purify, right? So complete purification. Ge is to increase. So it's the complete purification of all the negative aspects of the mind, and the complete increase of all the good qualities. Okay? So that's Bodhi. Now, these bodhisattvas, that attainment of Bodhi is their aspiration, their deepest aspiration that is coming at a very kind of uncontrived and natural, naturally arising all the time within their mental team. Okay? And we were saying that then this mind that aspires for enlightenment, with a key distinction that why do they want to become enlightened? Because they see, right, that only when they become enlightened will they be able to benefit sentient beings in the best way. Okay? So they have the mind that aspires to achieve enlightenment. Why? Because they wish to benefit all sentient beings. Okay? And they themselves take on the personal responsibility that I myself will do it. Which we distinguish from another type of mind that would just say, oh, may all sentient beings be free from suffering. Right? They go one step further and say, I myself will free them from that suffering. So then, prior, to having that mind, I myself will free all sentient beings from suffering, you have to then care and become interested in how other sentient beings are doing, right? And they develop this kind of caring in the sense that it matters to them. You know what I mean? Well, one way is by reflecting that all living beings, all sentient beings have been our mothers in the past. When they have been our mothers, they've treated us with utmost kindness, taken care of us. And therefore now, in order to repay their kindness, I'm going to, act for their welfare. Then to inquire, well, how and why are my mothers, the mother suffering being, sentient beings suffering, right? Inquiring into the causes of the nature of our situation in life. Then we see, okay, of the various types of suffering that afflict living beings, well, the root of all of this is because we're in this state of samsara. Have you heard that term before? Samsara. It's Sanskrit. Right? Okay, anyway, I'll tell you. So, samsara, it's a cycle of rebirth that we take without any control from our own side, but rather we are projected into taking further rebirth due to our own karma, our own actions, contaminated actions, and our afflictive emotions. Okay? So, basically, in very brief, what will happen to us at our time of death if we don't achieve liberation or enlightenment in this life? At the time of death, our gross consciousnesses will start to absorb, will start to, cease to function. And we'll know that. And then we will have some kind of, it's like a sort of fear that we are ceasing to exist. And so this mind, sepa and lempa, they call it in Tibetan, so it's like craving and grasping. We have a strong craving and grasping to our own existence. Yeah. We see that we're about to cease to exist, and we're like, no, not yet. Right? So this mind that craves and grasps to our own existence will then activate a previously deposited karmic imprint in our mental continuum. Yeah, activate. So in the same way that if we have a seed, right? If we have a seed and we just leave it on the table without putting water and moisture or whatever, heat on it, it won't sprout. It needs the cooperative conditions of the moisture and so forth. The previous karmic imprints in our mental continuum need the sort of watering of the craving and grasping for it to become, for that potency to project another rebirth. And that's what happens at the time of death. Okay? But that whole process is not under our control. Right? It just happens. And as long as we're in that situation, then you see, even in this life, right? We have very little control about what happens to us, right? So that is not only what we're experiencing, but all other sentient beings are experiencing this uncontrolled process of rebirth. Right? And so if you really want to repay their kindness, then there's only really one choice. There's only one thing to do. You can, even if you were to, feed them delicious food 3 times a day, whatever you think, right? Cure all their illnesses, build them a nice beach house in Goa, whatever, all of that benefit is quite short-lived. Yeah. The thing that would really benefit mother sentient beings is for them to be free of samsara, free of all suffering, completely and forever. So, yeah. So that's why we need to become enlightened. And, well, the primary condition, you know, I would say like the primary basis by which we can become enlightened is again just the fact that we have a mind that is not enlightened. Do you understand? Why can we become enlightened? Because we have a mind and we're not enlightened. It's quite nice, right? That's it, actually. That's the concept of what we call Buddha nature. You know, this potential that all the people, all the living beings, including the mosquitoes and the rats, whatever, yeah, the monkeys, whoever, right? They can all attain enlightenment. Why? Because they have a mind that's not enlightened. That's it. Buddha nature. But to awaken this Buddha nature, right, then you need to, well, activate the kind of specific causes of enlightenment. The primary one being this mind of bodhicitta, the wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, right? Because although you would have the potential, let me give an analogy. Okay, I'm thinking about Goa. So, Goa, they're very famous for cashews, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's say you bought your mother a nice beach front property in Goa, right? You have some land there. That land has a potential for a cashew tree to grow, right? Right? But although the potential is there, what actually has to happen? There has to be a seed planted, right? And for that, you have to have the thought, oh, you know, maybe in the future it'd be nice to have some cashews, right? So first there's the wish, yeah? Then you plant the seed. Then even after you plant the seed, you have to take care of water and so forth, right? Same. So here, in this text, Anita.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. Okay. So here in this text, right, when we say engaging in the Bodhisattva conduct, right, engaging in the Bodhisattva conduct, so for them, okay, everyone has that potential, that land, okay? The Bodhisattvas have already, you know, planted the seed, awakened, you know, and it sprouted. But before they get the fruit, they have to take care. They have to water and all the things to get from that little sprout on the first day to bearing the fruit. Okay? So that is done through the practices. Okay? And here, this text describes all of them, but they can be categorized into 6 main practices, the 6 perfections, which are generosity, ethical discipline, patience, enthusiastic perseverance, meditation, and wisdom. Okay? But what would make those, okay, so you have those 6 types of practices. What make those practices the so-called perfections, right? So we translate it as perfection. In the Tibetan, it's like paro tu chimpa. Okay? Paro is like the other side, the other shore. Okay? Tu is like at, or tu. Tu is tu. Tu in Tibetan is tu. Okay? So to the other shore. Chimpa is to, having gone. So having gone to the other shore means to, fully complete the journey to where? Enlightenment in this case. Okay? So although you can have those practices of generosity, ethical discipline, and so forth, they're not all necessarily the perfection of morality and so forth, right? What makes it a perfection? If the motivating factor for engaging in the practice of morality is that mind of bodhicitta, the mind, wishing to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sinning beings. If you have that, then your actions, conjoined with that motivation, become bodhisattva actions. They then become the cause for you to achieve enlightenment. Yes? You understand? Otherwise, it's the same thing, right? Like, in our beach house in Goa, if we have, the cashew sprout, the lemon tree sprout, and the mango sprout, okay? So in general, like watering sprouts is a cause for a tree to grow, right? That's a general cause. But it's only if we water the cashew, that's the uncommon cause of the cashew tree, right? Yes, you understand?
Uncommon cause?
Uncommon cause. If you water the cashew tree, right, that is not going to cause the mango sprout to grow, right? Right? Okay? So what I'm saying...
Or specific.
Yeah, uncommon. Right? The common cause of all 3 is being watered. Right? Uncommon is watering the one. Well, remember. So what I'm saying is, there's the general practice of morality could be a common cause for people attaining liberation for themselves alone, enlightenment, even the people who are just attaining a good rebirth in the next life. The practice of morality is a common cause for that. The uncommon cause for someone to attain enlightenment is to have the mind of bodhicitta, and with that motivation, practice morality. Understand? Okay. So, because then, this mind of bodhicitta is, like what Shantideva says in the first chapter. This precious mind of bodhicitta is the supreme gold-making elixir because it transforms this unclean body that we have taken into the priceless jewel of a Buddha. Okay? So, you guys understand elixir? I don't know if it exists or not really, but maybe. Whether it does or not, the point is you have some iron, then you apply this elixir and then it becomes gold, right? Right, so iron really not that precious, but with the elixir, with the presence of elixir, it can transform that into gold, something very precious. So this elixir, it's like, wow, we want that one, right? So bodhicitta then is the elixir that is what enables us to transform this unclean, impure body into the precious form of the Buddha. Okay? So, that and many other benefits of this mind of bodhicitta is what have been described in the first chapter of this book, right? Because, you see, before you engage in something, you want to know the benefits, right? There's just, what's in it for me, right? Oh, it's a good question. It's a good question. Seriously, our time, our resources is very limited, right? So before we engage in something, it's always good to reflect, what's in it for me, right? And, then we can assess, is it worth our time? Is it worth the energy? Is it worth the investment to go through with that? Right? But here in this case, you see, when you really check, you'll actually come to find that there is nothing more worth your time than to practice bodhicitta, actually. At the beginning you're skeptical, like, is this worth my time? Then after you check, you'll find that there's nothing better that you can do. You understand? So it's like amazing, So, anyway, okay. Alright, so then at the beginning, you see, Shantideva is talking about all the benefits of bodhicitta. In our previous 9 sessions, then what happened? See, we also went through all the benefits of bodhicitta. Then everyone here was so motivated and excited to become a bodhisattva. I hope. Maybe they've gone to the Himalayan cave, Shanti.
Yeah.
It's possible. No, last night, we were talking about that. Anyway, it's okay. So, we were then talking about then the specific ways to generate that mind of bodhicitta. Okay. Then, after you get some transformative experience, right, in generating what we call the sugarcane husk-like bodhicitta, right? So again, sorry. Sugarcane juice, right? We all love it. They have that machine, you put it in the sugarcane, it presses it, right? So then what comes out? You get the juice and you get the husk. Okay? The husk still has some sweetness, but it's nothing compared to the juice. Right? So similarly, the fully fledged mind of bodhicitta is coming at this uncontrived, very natural, effortless, spontaneous arising day and night. Right? That's the real one. That's the juice we want. Right? But we can, right now, even with some effort, maybe a lot of effort, generate a mind that is like it, right? We can have a mind that on a contrived level wishes, oh yes, I want to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, right? And the previous weekend, when Venerable Lexuk was here, he went through all these meditations to do that, right? So I hope you at least had some experience of it. So that one is like the husk. There's some sweetness. It's good. it's not the real juice. Okay? But nonetheless, when we have some experience, okay, we then might choose to really go for it and say, this is the one. I think, as Lama Tsongkhapa explains in the Lamrim Chenmo, the great stages, the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, however they pronounce it, or translate it, right? He says, some people, after they hear the teachings on bodhicitta, they'll have this thought, oh wow, this is what I've been searching for my whole life. Huh, Anita? That happened to you? We see that in like romantic comedies, right? Where you meet your true love, and it's like, oh, you're the one I've been searching for my whole life, right? Huh? Yes?
It doesn't happen in real life, only in romantic comedy.
So Tsongkhapa is also saying that could be possible. And it could be possible, right? You imagine. And this is actually to be honest with you guys, yeah, probably none of us are going to become bodhisattvas in this life. Sorry. But, you see, we talked about it a little bit last night, right? Whereby some people, when they hear, a certain guru's name, they feel, oh, I have to meet that person. Tears come to the eyes, and they just drop everything and go, right? It's because of familiarity. It's because of a connection that was forged lifetime after lifetime between those two individuals. That then when they meet in this life, or even they hear the name, then that's where I have to go. Right? So, you see, that's one. Then two, even they say, the Buddha, when he first gave his first teaching in Sarnath, his first 5 disciples, during that first turning of the wheel, that first sutra, those first utterances, some, even after one line, they achieve the path of seeing, direct realization of emptiness. Then the second line, path of meditation. By the end of the sermon, they had become arhats, they had achieved nirvana. Now, why? Does that happen to us? This is the truth of suffering. No. So what was special about those 5, actually, from lifetime after lifetime, they had already ripened their mental continuum through study, practice, reflection. Right? Then if that's the case, if the ground is fertile through that, then just through some small causes and conditions, like meeting a Buddha or meeting your Guru, those imprints can ripen quickly. Right? And then the magic happens. Just like in the rom-com, right? Just some little thing, right? Like you see, right, in the movie, just some little thing. Like Shah Rukh Khan sees the girl and she just does this flip with the hair, then he falls in love, right? Right? It can be just that easy in the movies, right? So it's the same thing with our practice. If we have sufficient, how do you say? Experience through past study and reflection, then little things can happen, and then this mind of bodhicitta can ripen very easily. You see? Okay. Alright. So maybe that's it for now. So you
But
understand?
you know, if the Buddha was there in front of us and teaching us,
Anita, while you were still finishing up your Krispy Kreme donuts, right, I made an announcement that, see, yesterday, there were two questions that ate into a lot of the time. They're okay questions, you know. Actually, there's no such thing as a bad question, right? In general, but I do have a agenda. So, what's the point? The point is trying to set the context, engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds. Therefore, I talked about Bodhisattvas. Who are Bodhisattvas? They have Bodhicitta. What is Bodhicitta? What are the benefits? Blah, 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 blah. The first chapter of this talked about the benefits of Bodhicitta. Then, since you see all the benefits, you're like, okay, wow, there's all those benefits, how do I get them? Then there are the two methods to achieve Bodhicitta. We've already talked about them. Sorry. But just in brief, it's, you know, I alluded to it. It's, you know, to care about others, for it to matter to you whether they're suffering or not. Then you consider, well, they've been my mother in the past, right? Or you consider, well, this thought that actually holds myself to be more important than them, that my welfare is more important than theirs, actually that's my greatest enemy, that thought, right? We see the faults of that mind that holds ourselves to be more important than others, and we see the benefits of cherishing others more than ourselves, right? As Shantideva says, you know, there's not a need for many words, right? Childish beings work only for their own benefit, while the Buddhas work only for the benefit of the others. And look at the difference between the two, right? Childish beings, that means us, okay? Even though you have gray hair, you can still be a childish being, right? And by the way, even if you're young, you can not be a childish being in this context, right? So, you understand? Anyway, so then that other way of developing this mind of bodhicitta is to reflect on the faults of cherishing yourself, reflect on the benefits of cherishing others, and then you see that actually, okay, the real way to cherish others, to benefit others, is to achieve this mind of enlightenment. Sorry, to achieve enlightenment, so you can be in the position to best benefit them, and therefore you set that as your goal. Right? So now where are we? We're in the sugarcane husk pile, right? Okay. So to help then bolster our commitment to living according to the ways of a bodhisattva, then there is this way of formally kind of committing to act as a bodhisattva would act. And this is there's a so-called ceremony or ritual of adopting the mind of enlightenment. Okay? So here in chapter 2, right? If you can just look now, page 8. In order to seize that precious mind, okay? So just by that, in order to seize that precious mind. That's it, actually. That's not the only line I'm going to say right now. Okay? So this then, for the next 2 chapters, is, and can be done as a way of adopting that mind, seizing the mind of enlightenment. Okay? But last night I started to, because in the Lamrim Chenmo by Tsongkhapa, he talks about the actual ritual for adopting the spirit of enlightenment. So I started to talk about that. So anyway, you guys understand? I'm gonna, as I mentioned yesterday, at the end of this session, we are going to go through a ceremony to develop the mind of enlightenment, to take the Bodhisattva vows. It's optional, right? But we're going to do it. And then before doing that, I thought to explain the ritual for doing it, according to Lamrim. Okay? So in the Lamrim, it first talks about the person before whom you adopt the spirit of enlightenment. And although there was some debate that we got into last night, the point is you need to adopt the vows of engaging bodhicitta from someone who already has the vows. That's the point. Okay? Then next, the persons who adopt the spirit of enlightenment. Okay? So, in general, as Jitari said, the persons who adopt the spirit of enlightenment are sons or daughters of the good lineage who are sound in body and mind. Thus, all deities, nagas, etc., who are mentally and physically fit for arousing the spirit of, the aspirational spirit of enlightenment are suitable persons for adopting the spirit of enlightenment. Nevertheless, as the commentary on the difficult points of the lamp for the path of enlightenment, says at this point, they, the persons who adopt the spirit of enlightenment, are disgusted with cyclic existence, mindful of death, and have great wisdom and compassion. So, the persons who adopt the spirit of enlightenment have trained their minds in the stages of the path explained earlier, and thereby have gained some transformative experience with respect to the spirit of enlightenment. Okay, so a few points to note here. Did you notice? They said deities, nagas, so devas, nagas, right? They can generate the mind of enlightenment. These are non-human beings. Okay? So in general, we say that this precious human rebirth that we have is the best basis upon which to generate enlightenment, the mind of enlightenment. But actually, strictly speaking, it is possible for bodhicitta to be developed in any of the 6 realms of samsara, even as a hell being, right? It is said that, the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha himself, first, well, there's a little bit of debate about this, but, there's a story that the Buddha in one of his past lives was in the hell realms, the Naraks. And in that state, he was like pulling a cart, like physically pulling a cart, very heavy, kind of like the way that humans, they burden their beasts of burden, right? So there was someone next to him also pulling a cart, very, very heavy, overloaded, and the kind of hell guardians were whipping, right? Again, like we do with our animals, right? And the Buddha in his past life, sees the person next, who's completely exhausted, can't do anymore. He just can't pull anymore, he's collapsed. Right? Keeps getting whipped. So at that time, the Buddha, At that time, he wasn't a bodhisattva. But he sees the other person, great compassion arises that, oh, may I take on that burden for him so he doesn't have to get whipped, right? So that mind wishing to alleviate that person from suffering, right, arose, right? So then, anyway, some people say that that was his initial generation of the mind of bodhicitta. Some say that wasn't full-fledged bodhicitta, but it was, great compassion. Either way, due to the power of generating that virtuous thought of compassion, he was then reborn from the hell realms. Anyway, why was I saying this? Because, strictly speaking, it is possible for the mind of enlightenment to be generated in these 6 verses, but the human basis is still the best. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then this next point, right? The persons who adopt the spirit of enlightenment have trained their minds in the stages of the path explained earlier. What is that? The so-called medium and small scope, or the lower and medium capable person. So these are the sequence of meditations that we engage in. First reflecting on our precious human rebirth, then reflecting on impermanence and death, then reflecting after we die what's going to happen to us. We can either get reborn in lower realms or the higher realms. So then we reflect on the relative suffering in the lower realms of existence and the relative benefits in the higher realm of existence. Inquire into the causes. What then causes a rebirth in the lower or higher realm? Seeing that it's positive and negative actions. Fully understand what that means. And then to then make the commitment to not engage in negative actions and engage in positive ones. Then to see, even if that is the case, right, even in the so-called high realms of existence, there's still so much suffering. There's so much unsatisfactoriness. Yeah? Why? Well, because we were talking about samsara. Because it's still samsara. It's still not under our control. Right? So even a relative good rebirth like this, still characterized by many unsatisfying experiences. Why? Because we're in samsara. Why are we in samsara? Because we have karma and afflictions. Why do the afflictions arise? Well, they arise due to a mistaken view of the ultimate nature of reality. Therefore, if we want to get rid of the whole bushel of samsara, we have to get rid of that one. Okay? Right? So, those are the stages of the path explained earlier. If one just stops at that point, one could, seeing all the faults of samsara, then wish, oh, and I want to be free from samsara myself. But therefore, I'm going to abandon the root cause of samsara, that mistaken mind. Right? If one does that, one will achieve enlightenment, nirvana for oneself. Right? So then, those extra steps that we were talking about reflecting that how all sentient beings have been our mother, have showered us in kindness before, and therefore, for us to achieve the mere state of personal liberation for myself alone and abandon my mother in that way is totally unacceptable for me. Therefore, I'm going to take a further step to achieve full enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. That is the uncommon practice of the Mahayana path, the Bodhisattvas. Okay? And if you have some experience in all of that, you're suitable to adopt the spirit of enlightenment. Okay, so next, how to take part in the ritual of adopting the spirit of enlightenment. There's a preparation of the ritual, for the ritual, the actual ritual, and the conclusion of the ritual. Okay? So the preparation for the ritual then has 3 sections. Performing the special practice of going for refuge, amassing the collection of merit, and purifying your attitude. Performing the special practice of going for refuge again has 3 parts. After decorating the place of the ritual and setting up representations of the 3 jewels, arranging the offerings. Okay? So again, I said this last night, but again, the Venn diagram of the people who came last night and tonight, or this morning, is a bit small. So, I'll say it again. Okay? See, ritual, right? In this context, what we're doing is we are inviting all of the Buddhas, all of the Bodhisattvas to come here, and then in their presence, with them as our witness, we then make a commitment that just as all of you have generated the mind of Bodhicitta and then trained in the various practices, so I too am going to generate the mind of Bodhicitta and train in the practices. Okay? So as I was saying, right, that is a very helpful technique, method to help us actually live like Bodhisattvas. Right? And I gave the example last night. If you want to quit smoking, then you tell all your friends, I've quit smoking. Then when they see you smoke, they will get in your face. Right? If you want to, lose some weight, you tell all your friends, you make a public commitment. Then when they see you eating Krispy Kreme donuts, right, they'll say, what the heck, right? And then that kind of sense of embarrassment, you won't. Yeah? Hello? They did a study. It's very popular. I don't do this, but I see it, right? It's very popular actually in Singapore, where it's like you go out to a meal, you take a picture of the meal, and you post it somewhere. Have you guys seen this? Huh?
They do it all the time. I don't.
Ah.
I don't have a phone.
Okay. But you know this practice, right?
Yeah, they do it all the time.
I know. So actually, it's very interesting. There's all these fad diets that come out, right? Low carb, no carb, intermittent fasting, blah, 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 right? So there's one study they did, and they stacked these various diets against each other. And you know what was the most effective one? The most effective one was, every time you consume something, without exception, you take a picture of it and you post it publicly. You guys understand? That was the most effective. It wasn't even a diet. But the people that did that, because you see, normally what people do, when they go to the nice restaurant, and they do, right? It's very beautiful on the plate. They take that picture. But then, when they go home and they eat the bag of potato chips on the couch, that they don't do, right? Right? So the point is, everything you eat, you make public, right? Then, see, what then happened is, the people, okay, not just on brunch at the Oberoi, right? But then even when they go home and they're about to reach for the bag of potato chips, they're like, oh, I'm going to have to let everyone know about this. Okay. Then they didn't eat. Very interesting. So I think actually, you see, Shantideva was on to this point about human psychology. And in one point in the text, we'll get to it later, but he says, may I always, recall that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, are viewing my actions, and then get a sense of, shame and embarrassment, right? Well, and then the point is, then we would stop doing a lot of the stuff that we do, right? Isn't it? I mean, a very fundamental way, where, the Buddhas. I mean, sorry, I don't know. It's almost Christmas time, right? But we have this song, right? Santa Claus is coming to town. You know this?
Yeah.
He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. No? You get the point, right? Right? So, okay, Santa may, the very cynical view is that this is just something parents make up, right? So that their children be good, right? Be good and you get presents. Be bad, and my mom, or my grandma maybe, both of them, they said, if you're bad, then instead of getting presents at Christmas, you get a lump of coal. Now, thank you for not, there's sometimes, and I might even been here, someone was like, oh no, but with coal you can make energy. It's bad energy. We have to, here's my public service announcement, we have to stop building coal plants and go to renewable energy sources, okay? Actually, maybe that's for Modi, if he's watching. Many coal plants are coming online here in India. I know a lot of people don't have electricity, but, okay. Okay, so the cynical view is to then see like Santa as this kind of, scorekeeper, and then you kind of manipulate your children into being good by saying, if you're not good, you're not going to get presents, right? So not like that, but in a positive way, to see, the fact is, right, this is if we've already made the commitment in ourselves that I want to act like a bodhisattva, right? Right? So similarly, right, if you've already made the commitment that you want to lose, 5 kilos, 10 kilos, whatever, right? Then engaging in this other stuff and having the peer pressure and all that is helpful for you to achieve your goals, right? Otherwise, we're not talking about like body shaming here. Yeah, it's okay, right? I love you just the way you are, kind of thing, right? But the point is, given that you yourself have set up these goals, then you, can have positive constraints on your behavior to help you do that, right? So that's what we're talking about here. Okay? So now, since we are inviting all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas here, and are going to make this commitment in front of them, then, just like if you're inviting a guest to your home, what do you want to do? Clean the place. Make it nice. Put away the dirty laundry. Right? Vacuum up the dog hair. Anita. Okay? So here, after decorating the place of the ritual and setting up representations of the 3 jewels, arranging offerings. So anyway, I don't have to get into all this, but yeah, it's like, make the place neat. Okay. Yeah, then scatter flowers. Make it very nice. Okay. So then, all right. Anyway, there's a lot of descriptions about how to then make the place nice. There's this thing where, you know, anointing the place with the 5 substances from a cow. Yeah. Anyway, you know this? Yeah. So I don't know the source of this, right? But apparently, you know, in the traditional text, there's talk of the Pa Jung Ribu. Pa is cow, Jung is to arise, right? Ribu is pill. So it's made of, you know, like the urine, dung, milk, butter, and yogurt from a cow. Okay? There's this pill, and apparently that cleans the place. Then you see that in the traditional text, and then people are like, wait a minute, where am I going to get this pill? Don't worry so much about that. Right? I think, okay, I don't want to go out on a limb, but I think we have better cleaning products than that one. So I don't know what you guys use. Mr. Muscle. Huh?
This is better.
Which one?
Cow urine and
Sana is the old school. Anyway, the point is, clean the place. You know, like this whole thing in management now, right? I care about the results. Okay, I don't care how you do it. Okay. You know, you can use a vacuum cleaner, you can sweep, you can use a toothbrush. I don't care. Just get the damn place clean. Okay. All right. So then you would set up nice offerings, and again, here they talk about canopies, flowers, blah blah blah. Doesn't matter. You're like, oh, I don't have a canopy. It says in the Lamrim Chenmo, I need a canopy. No, it doesn't matter. Things that are pleasing to you. Okay. Okay. So now, see here, this is what I alluded to yesterday. When some Tibetan teachers ask the great elder, that means a Tisha, to confer the ritual for generating the spirit of enlightenment at Samye and Mangyu, he said they would not generate it because they had inferior offerings. He further said that with respect to representations of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, you definitely must have a consecrated image of Shakyamuni Buddha, the founder of the teachings. And with respect to the volumes of scripture, you should have a Perfection of Wisdom Sutra as big or bigger than the verse summary of the Perfection of Wisdom in 8,000 lines. Anyway. Yeah. I don't want to argue with Atisha, but that's what he said. In general, right, even that, strictly speaking, is not needed. Okay? What happens for us, you know, with our minds, then to have a representation of the Buddha can be very inspiring. Can be. It is, to me, you know, even to see, you know, a very beautiful image, it's like very nice, and it creates some feeling in the mind. That's why religious art is, you know, for centuries, not even in this tradition, but also in the Christian tradition, all these other things, using religious imagery as a basis for art, you know, has been practiced. Right, Anita?
Yeah.
She's doing it these days. Okay? So, next the students wash, put on good clothes, and sit with hands joined respectfully. The Guru encourages the students to wholeheartedly generate clear faith in the good qualities of the field of merit for the accumulation of the collections of merit and sublime wisdom, and has them imagine that they are seated in front of each of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then enjoins them to slowly perform the 7 branches of worship. Okay? So, how many of you have taken the Bodhisattva vows in the presence of the Dalai Lama? Yes? So, he does this. He will have, when we take the Bodhisattva vows with him, he'll have us imagine the Buddha surrounded by all the lineage gurus, including those from India, the Nalanda Pandits. And then since he is often in a kind of international crowd, he'll say, for the benefit of the Chinese, all the Chinese, lineage masters, the Korean lineage masters, and so forth, right? So, we imagine this in the space in front of us, okay? And then enjoins them to slowly perform the 7 branches of worship. We'll get to this in a second. So, the 7 branches of worship, or the 7 limb prayer, they say, okay? This actually includes everything that's needed to both purify and accumulate merit, okay? So in short, right, the 7 branches are prostrating, making offerings, confessing negativities that have been done previously, rejoicing in virtues, requesting that the Buddhas remain and teach, 6, and then dedicating the merit that we've accumulated for complete enlightenment. Okay? So each of those 7, and I think even I think the Venerable Rapton, he did a whole class on just the 7 limbs, right? 4 classes. Good. Very good. Because actually you can go into a whole lot of detail into each of them, right? So let me just say for now, each of the 7 purifies a particular negativity, right? So prostrating, will purify our pride, making offerings purifies our miserliness, confessing purifies negativities, previously committed, rejoicing in the virtue of others purifies jealousy, requesting that the Gurus remain purifies the times that we've gone against our Gurus' wishes and so forth, requesting that the Buddhas teach then purifies negativities that we've done in relation to the teachings, and then dedicating, well, that actually serves as a preventative measure to keep the virtue that we have accumulated from either being destroyed through getting angry and so forth, and also to prevent it from being kind of ripened in a way that is less beneficial than full enlightenment. Okay. So, yeah, there's a little debate that comes up here because they say that earlier Tibetan scholars say do you want to hear this debate? Okay, in a brief way. So, again, I said this yesterday. But one of the things that Tsongkhapa is trying to do in this text is to overcome some of the wrong views that cropped up in Tibet at that time. Okay? So, here he's mentioning that most earlier Tibetan scholars said, when you adopt the spirit of enlightenment according to the lineage transmitted through Nagarjuna and Shantideva, you practice the 7 branches of worship. And when you adopt it according to the lineage from Maitreya and Asanga, you practice only the 2, obeisance, means prostration, and offerings. Okay? What is more, in the latter case, they say, if you were to practice the confessions of sins, you would need to feel regret, and thus you would be unhappy. And the spirit of enlightenment must be generated in one whose mind has joy and delight. You understand? There's two, the earlier Tibetans, they say, if you're adopting it from the tradition of Nagarjuna and Shantideva, you do all 7 branches. But if you're adopting it from Maitreya and Asanga, then you don't do all 7 branches, you just do the first 2. Prostration and offerings. Because the 3rd branch, confession of sins, yeah, you develop the mind of regret. You feel bad about the negativities you've done previously. And they say then, you'd be unhappy, and you should generate the mind of enlightenment when the mind has joy and delight. So what do you think? Tsongkhapa says, no, this position is incorrect. And then he has two arguments for that. The first is he cites Atisha, who says clearly in his one of his texts that you should practice the 7 branches before you generate the spirit of enlightenment. And then the second reasoning he says is, if you accept what these scholars are saying, then you would have to say that the people who generate bodhicitta in the lineage of Nagarjuna and Shantideva, they would not generate it because all 7 branches are performed. Okay. So, let's do it. Okay? I hope this is clear. But we're going to start to slowly begin the ritual for adopting the mind of enlightenment. Okay? So we're doing it on the basis of this.
I'm really not feeling well, so I have to leave, okay? I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
waiting for a tea break. Yeah, it's better if I leave now than...
Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So much.
Okay? Yeah. Page 8. In order to seize that precious mind, I offer now to the Tathagatas, to the sacred Dharma, the stainless jewel, and to the disciples of the Buddha, the oceans of excellence. Okay, by the way, hello. We are now doing it. So, if you wish, you recite along with me. As you recite, you also think that you're actually doing this, that it's not just mere words on the page. Okay? So we're now thinking mentally, right? We've laid out all these offerings here, and the other offerings that are in the rest of other parts of the world. we are now offering. Okay? Whatever flowers and fruits there are, and whatever kinds of medicine, whatever jewels exist in the world, and whatever clean, refreshing waters, likewise gem-encrusted mountains, forest groves, quiet and joyful places, heavenly trees bedecked with flowers, and trees with fruit-laden branches, fragrance of the celestial realms, incense-wishing trees and jeweled trees, uncultivated harvests, and all ornaments that are worthy of being offered, lakes and pools adorned with lotuses, and the beautiful cry of wild geese, everything unowned within the limitless spheres of space. Creating these things in my mind, I offer them to supreme beings, the Buddhas as well as their children. O compassionate one, think kindly of me and accept these offerings of mine. Having no merit, I am destitute and I have no other gifts to offer. O protectors, who think of helping others, by your power accept these for my sake. Eternally I shall offer my bodies to the conquerors and their children. Please accept me, you supreme heroes, respectfully that I be your subject. By being completely under your care, I shall benefit all with no fears of conditioned existence. I shall perfectly transcend my previous transgressions, and in the future I shall commit no more. 2 sweetly scented bathing chambers with brilliantly sparkling crystal floors and exquisite pillars ablaze with gems, with canopies above aglow with pearls. I beseech the Tathagatas and their children to come and bathe their bodies from many jeweled vases filled with water scented and enticing to the accompaniment of music and song. Let me dry their bodies with incomparable cloths, clean and well anointed with scent, and then may I present these holy beings with fragrant garments of suitable colors. I adorn with manifold ornaments and various raiments, fine and smooth, for the Arya Samantabhadra, Mujvosha, Avalokiteshvara, and all the others. Just like polishing pure fine gold, I anoint the Buddha's form with a blaze, which blaze with light, with choicest perfumes, whose fragrance permeates 1,000 million worlds. And to the highest objects of giving I offer beautiful, well-arranged garlands, as well as enchanted, sweet-smelling flowers, such as lilies, jasmine, and lotus blooms. I also send forth clouds of incense, whose sweet aroma steals away the mind, as well as celestial delicacies, including a variety of food and drinks. I offer them jeweled lamps, arranged on golden lotus buds, upon land sprinkled with scented water. I scatter delicate flower petals. To those who have the nature of compassion, I offer palaces resounding with melodious hymns, exquisitely illuminated by hanging pearls and gems that adorn all the infinities of space. Eternally shall I offer to all the Buddhas jeweled umbrellas with golden handles, and exquisite ornaments embellished to the rims, standing erect, and their shapes beautiful to behold. In addition, may massive offerings resound with sweet and pleasant music, like clouds that appease the misery of all, each remaining for as long as necessary. And may a continuous rain of flowers and precious gems descend upon the reliquaries and statues, and upon all the jewels of Dharma. In the same way as Manjushri and others have made offerings to the conquerors, similarly, I bestow gift upon the Tathagatas, protectors, their children and all. I glorify the oceans of excellence with limitless verse of harmonious praise. May these crowds of gentle eulogy constantly ascend to their presence. With bodies as numerous as all the atoms within the universe, I prostrate to all the Buddhas of the 3 times, the Dharma, and the Supreme Community. Likewise, I prostrate to all the reliquaries, to the bases of the awakening mind, to all the learned abbots and masters, and to all noble practitioners. Okay. So we're going to pause here and have a break. We are offered celestial delicacies, including a variety of food and drinks. Okay? So we have that here. We will do that now. So where are we?
Verse 25. Offering.
Oh, we finished the offerings, we started.
We have done. We're in the 7 limb prayer. And we've done, actually here first was offering and then prostration. You notice? No problem. Okay? Then next you'll see is going to be the confession. Okay? So we're stopping right before the confession. Yes, it's true, verse 25. So don't, but that's not what I was looking for. Right? If I say, where are we? Oh, we're in Domler layout. You know, it's true, but that's not the information I'm looking for. Okay? Alright. So, anyway, please enjoy the refreshments.